You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill news. First of all, in a series of stories from the Gateway Pundit, coup plotter Rod Rosenstein says government transparency isn't always advisable. Well, that depends on who it's not advisable for, Rod. Coup plotter Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein talked about the importance of the rule of law Monday at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. But first, a word from our sponsor. CNN just announced last month that YouTube will be censoring any videos on its platform having to do with 9/11 or conspiracy theories, quote unquote. But this doesn't just stop with us creators. Anyone who's watching this content is probably going to be recorded, stored, and analyzed by the powers that be just for viewing this material in the first place. That's why in times like these, using a VPN is a great idea. Introducing Virtual Shield. It's trusted by many, it's the easiest and fastest to use VPN, and they will never sell your information out to big data. With a click of a button, you change your IP address to a different location, so the internet spies watching you will be thrown into a tailspin. Take a look. What is my IP? Here I am broadcasting from an unknown location, but you can see the last 3 digits of my IP address is 144. All I need to do to mask myself is click Connect in Virtual Shield, give it a moment, and suddenly I'll be in Chicago, Illinois. Check it out. This month, Virtual Shield is offering 35% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons, including Protection Plus, residential access, monthly maintenance, phone support, and VIP performance plans for as low as $3 per month. And don't forget about IdentiSafe, which allows the customer the ability to block off computer microphone and camera access from any unwanted spies and hackers. For anyone that's paranoid about the government watching or listening to every move they make via computer, IdentiSafe is for them. Don't forget, Virtual Shield is one of the easiest VPNs in the world to use. It's also one of the fastest VPNs, and their no-log policy protects its users from any data breaches. Just go to virtualshield.com/redpill78 and you'll be able to use the special code on the homepage to sign up for free and get 35% off. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Rosenstein, who discussed wearing a wire to record President Trump and plotted to remove him via the 25th Amendment, told the audience that government transparency isn't always advisable. There's a knee-jerk reaction to suggest that we should be transparent about what we do in government, Rosenstein said. But there's a lot of reasons not to be transparent about what we do in government, like secretly plotting to remove the President of the United States, or writing a scope memo that is still hidden from lawmakers and oversight that gives a rogue prosecutor, Mueller, permission to go on a fishing expedition and destroy Trump's associates on process crimes. The guidance I always gave my prosecutors and the agents I worked with during my tenure on the front lines of law enforcement were, if we aren't prepared to prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt in court, Rosenstein said, then we have no business making allegations against American citizens. Well, geez, where was this Rod Rosenstein the last 2 years? Let's take a listen from NBC News.
Things that have gone wrong and figure out how we can best address them. One of the challenging issues we face in the department, and this is an issue that we'll be discussing nationally, is the question of whether transparency is a good thing. There's a knee-jerk reaction to suggest that we should be transparent about what we do in government, but there are a lot of reasons not to be transparent about what we do in government. Judge Webster is sitting here in the front row. He's been doing this work since long before I. The government, just because the government collects information doesn't mean that information is accurate, and it can be really misleading if you're overly transparent about information that the government collects. So I think we do need to be really cautious about that. And that's, again, not to comment on any particular case. There may be legitimate reasons for making exceptions, but as a general principle, my view is the Department of Justice is best served when people are confident that we're going to operate when we're investigating American citizens in particular. We're going to do it with appropriate sensitivity to the rights of uncharged people. And as I mentioned in my remarks, when we charge somebody with a violation, we need to be prepared to prove it by evidence beyond any reasonable doubt. And the guidance I always gave my prosecutors, the agents that I worked with during my tenure on the front lines of law enforcement were, if we aren't prepared to prove our case beyond reasonable doubt in court, then we have no business making allegations against American citizens.
Wow, where was this abundance of caution from Rod Rosenstein over the past 2 years? Maybe he can tell us why he suggested wearing a wire to record the commander-in-chief and invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office, Jim Jordan said. Where was the rule of law when he was busy plotting, Jordan added. I love Jim Jordan. On Monday, Representatives Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan sent a letter to Representative Cummings asking him to add DAG Rosenstein to publicly testify at Michael Cohen's hearing. Rod Rosenstein should be in prison for plotting a coup against President Trump via the 25th Amendment, not giving lectures on the rule of law. God, gotta agree. Rod Rosenstein seems to have a bit of a bipolar personality. It's like he holds up these things as if, he stands by them as if he lives them. But then you look at his behavior over the past couple of years, and it's hard not to just laugh. Now, speaking of transparency, Adam Schiff says absolutely prepared to subpoena Mueller's final report. Call Mueller to testify if report is not made public. House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff told ABC News' George Stephanopoulos on Sunday that his committee is absolutely prepared to sue the Trump administration if Mueller's final report is not made public. Schiff also said he will use subpoena power to obtain Mueller's final report if Attorney General Bill Barr were to keep the report under wraps. We will obviously subpoena the report. We will bring Bob Mueller in to testify before Congress. We will take it to court if necessary, Schiff said. In the end, I think the Justice Department understands they are going to have to make this public. I think Barr will ultimately understand that as well. Stephanopoulos then asked Schiff, are you prepared to take the administration to court? Absolutely. We are going to get to the bottom of this. We are going to share this information with the public, Schiff said. And if the president is serious about all the claims of exoneration, then he should welcome the publication of this report. I think they are setting a trap for this guy and for the rest of the Democrats. The report's going to come out, it's going to say Trump is innocent, and then they're going to demand that it gets released to the public, and once it does, it's going to be full of the crimes of the left. Let's take a listen to this smug punk.
You say the Justice Department is going to have to live by that precedent, but what if they don't? What if they simply say, no, we're not going to release the underlying evidence? What options do you have?
Well, we will obviously subpoena the report. We will bring Bob Mueller in to testify before Congress. We will take it to court if necessary. And in the end, I think the department understands they're going to have to make this public. I think Barr will ultimately understand that as well. Barr comes into this job with 2 strikes against him. He applied for the job by demonstrating a bias against the Mueller investigation. Indeed, that's part of the reason he was hired. He's also not been willing to commit to following the advice of ethics lawyers. Indeed, that was part of the reason he was hired. If he were to try to withhold, to try to bury any part of this report, that will be his legacy, and it will be a tarnished legacy. So I think there'll be immense pressure not only on the department, but on the Attorney General to be forthcoming.
You're talking about public pressure. You prepared to take the administration to court?
Absolutely. We are going to get to the bottom of this. We are going to share this information with the public, and if the president is serious about all of his claims of exoneration, then he should welcome the publication of this report.
Is it just me, or does Adam Schiff look like he's been crying all morning? His eyes are a lot more red and glassy than usual, so either that or maybe he's partaking of the California wacky weed. According to the special counsel rules, Robert Mueller has to submit a confidential report to the Attorney General. The rules do not require the Attorney General to share the report with Congress or even make it public, which is why the Democrats are prepared to fight like HE double hockey sticks to get their hands on the report, even if it means using subpoena power. Not only is House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff gunning for Mueller's final report, House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler and chairs of 4 other House committees said in a letter to AG Barr on Friday that they expect in the strongest possible terms that Mueller's report be made public. Bill Barr said during his confirmation hearings that he wants to be as transparent as possible, consistent with the rules of law. Democrats also fear that Mueller report will be anticlimactic, so they are ramping up additional Trump-Russia investigations to harass President Trump. House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff just announced a massive investigation into Trump's personal life and finances. When will it end? When will this end? Are they really going to be allowed to continue to just rake through the coals of President Trump's life? They will not be satisfied until they find something. But the thing is, they will never find anything because President Trump is a good man. Sorry. Now, speaking of President Trump, he tweeted out, "We want them now." President Trump demands deep state turn over missing struck page texts and the DNC server. President Trump ripped crooked Hillary Clinton and the deep state coup plotters Sunday morning in a tweet. The president also asked, "Where's the server that the DNC refused to give to the FBI?" and demanded the missing struck page texts be handed over now. I actually covered this tweet yesterday. President Trump said the only collusion with the Russians was the crooked Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. And where's the server that the DNC refused to give the FBI? Where are the new texts between Agent Lisa Page and her lover, Peter S.? We want them now. Here are the cold hard facts. The DNC server was allegedly hacked by the Russians nearly 3 years ago, yet the FBI still has not done a forensic inspection of the servers to confirm they were even hacked, and if hacked, by whom. We now know that Hillary Clinton and the DNC paid millions of dollars for a fraudulent Russia dossier compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele reportedly gathered Russian intel and put together a garbage dossier, which was then used to obtain a FISA warrant and 3 subsequent renewals of Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Crooked Hillary then colluded with foreigners during the 2016 campaign to illegally spy on her political opponent, President Donald Trump. The FBI's chief of counterintelligence, Peter Strzok, and FBI lawyer Lisa Page were caught exchanging anti-Trump text messages over the summer of 2017. In what is believed to be the most damning text exchange between the FBI lovebirds was a discussion about an insurance policy to keep Trump out of office. I want to believe the path you threw out for consideration in Andy's office, that there's no way Trump gets elected. But I'm afraid we can't take that risk, Strzok text message to Page in an August 15, 2016 exchange, referring to Andrew McCabe. It's like an insurance policy in the unlikely event you die before you're 40, Strzok added. Other profanity-laced text messages between Strzok and Page showed their contempt for Donald Trump. Thousands of text messages sent between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page are still missing. In December, Inspector General Michael Horowitz released a partially redacted report describing its investigation into the recovery of text messages between Strzok and Page, as reported on this channel. According to that IG report, the text messages sent between Page and Strzok about the Mueller probe were lost because their phones were conveniently reset to factory settings by someone in the DOJ. In other words, Mueller's office scrubbed clean both Peter Strzok and Lisa Page's phones. When will Mueller be charged with obstruction of justice? It's so amazing to me that the Democrats are just hung up on President Trump trying to say that he's done something when the whole time we are witnessing crime after crime after crime being committed by people in their camp. We must see these people brought to justice in order for us to be able to heal as a country. And also from the Gateway Pundit, Senator Lindsey Graham said, "Did they try to overthrow the president by the 25th Amendment? I'm going to call in Rosenstein, McCabe, Yates, and Comey." Senator Lindsey Graham joined Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures to discuss the ongoing Mueller witch hunt on President Trump. Graham told Maria he was going to call in all of those deep state operatives who signed off on the fraudulent FISA warrants to spy on Donald Trump. Let's take a listen to what Lindsey had to say, because this is pretty powerful.
If the Democrats keep pushing this, it's going to blow up in their face in 2020. Mueller will let us know in a couple of weeks, but what I'm going to do is look at the Department of Justice and the FBI and look at the other side of the story. How was a counterintelligence investigation opened up against the Trump campaign? How did they get a warrant against an American citizen on 4 separate occasions based on a document paid for by the Democratic Party that was a bunch of garbage? We're going to find out about that too.
No, that's exactly right. And we're going to talk with Trey Gowdy coming up. And one thing that he made a point of telling me going into this interview was that there were actually 3 investigations happening, which is what we heard from Andrew McCabe, who's on this book tour, even though he has been criminally referred for criminal charges there. What are you expecting from Bill Barr? He's on the job now 2 weeks. no doubt he's probably already sat with Robert Mueller, right?
Right. Well, I expect him to clean up the place. Number one, going forward, what are the rules to open up a counterintelligence investigation on a presidential campaign? I believe foreign governments were trying to get inside the Clinton campaign. They're going to be doing this in the future. They're always going to be coming after us. Remember when Dianne Feinstein had a staff member that was working for the Chinese intelligence community? The FBI went to her, told her about it, and she fired them. Why did they not do the same for Trump? The counterintelligence investigation of the Trump campaign, I think, was a backdoor attempt to infiltrate the campaign. They used a confidential informant. Well, what did the confidential informant find about the Trump campaign in Russia? Apparently nothing, because there was no mention of a confidential informant in obtaining a warrant against Carter Page. So this is a real mess. Did they really sit down and try to overthrow the president by invoking the 25th Amendment? I'm going to get to the bottom of that. I'm going to have McCabe come in, Rosenstein come in, anybody and everybody around that conversation, and we're going to find out who's lying. Every American should be worried about what happened in 2016. Was this an effort by the Department of Justice and the FBI senior officials to fix an election, to undercut a president who was legitimately elected? If the shoe were on the other foot, we'd be having a lot more attention to this if it had been about a Democratic president instead of Trump.
So you're committing to getting to the bottom of it through your subpoena power. You're going to get these guys here to testify. And you said the last time I was with you that you're going to get all the people who signed on to that FISA warrant. That would include Rod Rosenstein, Sally Yates, who else? Peter Strzok.
Comey, how could the Department of Justice tell the FISA court that the dossier prepared by Christopher Steele was reliable when they told the president after he got elected, here's the dossier, we can't prove any of it, we just want you to know about it? How could they certify that same document was reliable enough to get a warrant? To this day, it's not verified. It was a product produced by a foreign agent, paid for by the Democratic Party. Can you imagine if the Republicans had hired somebody to go to Russia to spy on Clinton, and they produced a document that was a bunch of garbage? They'd be destroying us as a party. So yeah, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Did they try to invoke the 25th Amendment? Did they lie to the FISA court? Did they open up a counterintelligence investigation against Trump in a sham way? We're going to find out about all this.
Well, you know what keeps getting me is every time you hear Andrew McCabe talk about this investigation that he launched, that he wanted to make sure was staying in place, you never hear why. And then the 25th Amendment conversation, well, why? What was the predicate? Don't you need a predicate to launch a major investigation into a sitting president?
A criminal investigation requires probable cause of a crime. A counterintelligence investigation is designed to protect American interests against foreign influence. They told Dianne Feinstein, oh, by the way, there may be a Chinese spy on your staff. The counterintelligence investigation against Trump should have been to protect the Trump campaign.
Right.
All right, had to cut it short there because of the music. Don't want to get a copyright strike. But Lindsey Graham must also follow through on what he's saying here. And I really believe that he's going to, because he's not going to have a choice. If he wants to heal America, if he wants to allow us to come back together as a country, the crimes of the left must be fully exposed. Funny, you know. And now time for a couple of laughs. Lib mouthpiece Eric Swalwell, incidentally how I started my channel, tests the waters in New Hampshire and holds a live broadcast, and only 21 people tune in. Representative Eric Swalwell is a leading liberal voice behind the Trump-Russia collusion fairy tale. For 2 years, Swalwell has pushed the conspiracy on cable news. Swalwell considers himself the voice of the loony left. Swalwell is a legend in his own mind. This past weekend, Swalwell went to New Hampshire to test the waters for a possible presidential run. Representative Swalwell drove through New Hampshire in a live Facebook broadcast. Only 21 people followed his live broadcast. When he started the broadcast, only one person was following him. A CNN reporter. Ouch! Oh, Eric Swalwell is answering questions on Facebook Live while driving around New Hampshire for an audience that has yet to reach 30 concurrent viewers. Oh, oh, that's gotta hurt, Eric. That's gotta hurt. We gotta save this. And finally, in a move sure to bring equality to the sexes, a federal judge has ruled that male-only military draft is unconstitutional. Draft our daughters. A federal judge in Texas ruled late Friday that the male-only military draft is unconstitutional, declaring that the time has passed for a debate whether women belong in combat. U.S. District Judge Gray Miller, a George W. Bush appointee, dealt a huge blow to the current selective service system since the SCOTUS upheld the draft in a 1981 ruling. In Rostker versus Goldberg, the Supreme Court ruled that the all-male draft was fully justified because women could not fulfill combat roles. USA Today reported U.S. District Judge Gray Miller ruled late Friday that while historical restrictions on women serving in combat may have justified past discrimination, men and women are now equally able to fight. In 2015, the Pentagon lifted all restrictions for women in military service. The case was brought by the National Coalition for Men, a men's rights group, and two men who argued the all-male draft was unfair. Men who fail to register with the selective service system at their 18th birthday can be denied public benefits such as federal employment and student loans. Women cannot register for selective service. The ruling comes as an 11-member commission is studying the future of the draft, including whether women should be included or whether there should continue to be draft registration at all. The National Commission on Military, National, and Public Service released an interim report last month, giving no hints on where it would come down on those questions. But Commission Chairman Joe Heck told USA Today, "I don't think we will remain with the status quo." The lawyer representing the two men who brought the lawsuit said either they need to get rid of the draft registration or they need to require women to do the same thing that men do. Gray Miller's ruling was a declaration, not an injunction, which meant the court did not specifically say how the government should change the selective service system, USA Today reported. The left has been pushing to put women in all-male combat for units for years. Military leaders have pushed back, arguing that bringing women into all-male combat units breaks the cohesiveness of the group and poses many other dangers. It's hard enough watching young American men come back to the U.S. in body bags. How would it impact society to see mass casualties of female soldiers? Well, maybe the better question is, why are we going and fighting wars in other parts of the world that have nothing to do with us? So where do you guys stand with this? I would love to hear your opinion on this. Do you think that the left is really that excited to put women in combat? Or do you think that the blue-haired SJWs with, piercings in their face and stuff are going to look at this and begin to cry? Well, that's all I have for you guys tonight. As always, I am Red Pill 78, the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.